What is up, enthusiasts? It is Cedar Flags here, and welcome back to another one of my videos. Due to lots and lots of popular demand, you guys cannot stop eating up my perception videos, also known as Ruining Your Perception on Height Roller Coaster Edition. And so, I think it's only fitting that we evolve the series into something even more than height. Something that I got requested a lot in my comment sections on my YouTube videos is when I'm going to do a perception of length video. And it took me a bit to realize that I could do it, and maybe I thought, well, this coaster looks a little long or a little short to me, but does it look a little long or a little short to someone else? So, call this video sort of an experiment. If I'm just out of my mind and you expected these coasters to be on here, well then, I'm the clown. But, if you're just as shocked as I am, or at least a little shocked, I did my job. Anyway, let's get right into it. This is Cedar Flags, and these are some coasters that will ruin your perception on length with a very, very bizarre surprise at the end. The first coaster I want to talk about is the only defunct roller coaster on this list. That is right, I will be talking about the one and only Son of Beast at Kings Island. Now, looking at several POVs and off-ride videos of this ride, and knowing the ride's height is less than 220 feet tall, I would assume this ride had a decent amount of length. After all, Steel Vengeance is around 205 feet in height, and that's around 5,740 feet of track. So I would imagine Son of Beast being close, or maybe even a little longer. But turns out it's much, much longer. The overall track length of Son of Beast was 7,032 feet, or 2,143 meters. I don't know about you, but that is a lot longer than I originally thought. This thing actually was less than 400 feet shorter than the Beast. Yes, the Beast was longer, but not by much at all. Think of the height of Top Thrill Dragster. That's the amount of track the Beast had on Son of Beast. It's the 5th longest traditional coaster of all time, actually. And when I mean traditional, well, you'll figure that out later in the video. The ride is one of the few coasters to join the 7,000 foot club. And honestly, it's absolutely insane how long this ride was. I still can't believe it. The next one is a roller coaster that I have personally ridden. This is the one and only Hoosier Hurricane at Indiana Beach. And if you haven't watched a POV or seen this roller coaster, I heavily advise you pause this video and watch it. Done? Let's get into the ride. Now, the ride looks absolutely massive. How long could it be? Well, it turns out it's a lot shorter than I thought. In fact, the overall length of the ride is 2,891 feet, or 881 meters. It doesn't even pass the 3,000 foot mark, and the ride looks absolutely massive. To compare, this ride is only 5 feet longer than Red Force. I don't know why, but just reading that makes me cringe. If you want an even more shocking statistic, this ride is shorter than Firebird, also known as Apocalypse, also known as Iron Wolf, at Six Flags America and Great America respectively. This is one of the shortest B&Ms out there, and people associate this with a very short ride. Well, this ride is longer than Hoosier Hurricane, and Hoosier Hurricane looks absolutely massive. Another very weird statistic I saw is that it is shorter than Conneaut Lake's Blue Streak, another coaster I've personally ridden and seems extremely tiny compared to Hoosier Hurricane. It's just weird that that is longer than Hoosier Hurricane, because when you're on Hoosier Hurricane, it feels massive. Up next, we go to Six Flags Great America to talk about the one and only Raging Bull. Raging Bull is one of the first B&M hypercoasters out there, and is currently the only B&M hyper to feature a twister layout. Now, I've personally ridden this, and I have to say this ride does seem a little short, and that might just because of its relatively shorter height compared to the other B&M hypers out there. But something that shocked me is that this roller coaster is 5,057 feet long, or 1,541 meters long, which is a pretty long ride. Anything over 5,000 feet usually feels like a pretty long ride, but this ride, it feels pretty average. The ride's length is actually longer than Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure. I cannot believe I just said that on a first take. But looking at a POV of that and then looking at a Raging Bull POV, it's weird to think that Raging Bull is longer. It's also longer than Twisted Colossus, 2 coasters in one. That thing's a whole Mobius loop. Keep in mind, it is also longer than Hakugi. If you've seen a POV of that, it looks like one of the greatest and most massive RMCs out there. And when it comes to perception on height, Hakugi looks way taller than Raging Bull, even though that Raging Bull is taller. But back to the video, it's weird to think that this ride is longer than Hagrid's, Twisted Colossus, Hakugi, and within 50 feet of surpassing Intimidator 305. On the shorter hand, it is a shorter Giga, but it's still a Giga. It's a ride that's over 300 feet tall, and Raging Bull is longer than that. It's weird to think that this relatively short layout, well, at least what feels like a relatively short layout, is over 5,000 feet and close to a mile of track. Up next, we have the one and the only Phantom's Revenge at Kennywood. Kennywood is actually at my home park, and I've probably ridden this roller coaster more than any other coaster in my entire life. This ride really is a staple to Kennywood, and is one of the most iconic roller coasters of all time, mainly for its second drop. And this ride is a lot shorter in length than I thought. This ride has some of the most incredible pacing out of any coaster on the planet. You feel like you're just rushing through everything, and the ride does have a decent but on the shorter side duration. But I would have never guessed that this ride is only 3,200 feet or 975 meters long. This ride isn't even a kilometer long, and that just blows my mind. This ride is a hyper, keep in mind, and it goes well over 230 feet down that ravine. So the momentum caused by that, you would assume that the ride would be at least 4,000 feet in track. In fact, Steel Curtain across the park is longer, and it seems nowhere near as long as Phantom's Revenge. If you want a true mind-blowing fact, Phantom's Revenge in Phoenix at Knoebels, the PTC Woody with buzz bars, they are the same exact length. That's right, riding Phoenix and Phantom's Revenge, you will cover the same amount of track length from start to finish. It is also shorter than iSpeed, the semi-small Intamin Blitz at Mirabilandia. Something that really shocked me is that this ride has a shorter track length than Thunderhead at Dollywood, one of my favorite wooden coasters, and I have to say, even though it has a very winding twister layout, it still doesn't seem like that long of a ride, and has a very compact footprint. When it comes to rides that are slightly longer, it was less than 50 feet longer than Hurler. Keep in mind, these Hurler rides are extremely short, and it just blows my mind that Phantom is almost the same length. It's less than 100 feet longer than King Ka, which goes up, down, and back into the brakes. This ride is extraordinarily short, and is shorter than most B&M hypers. I just find it so weird that a ride that seems extremely long has an incredibly short layout. And my only explanation for this is possibly at the end of the ride, when it has very short ejector airtime hills instead of large floater airtime hills that would take up more track length. The final thing I want to talk about on this video that really wrapped my head around isn't just one coaster, but a handful of Alpine coasters. Now, when you think of the longest coaster in the world, you're probably going to assume that it's Steel Dragon 2000. It's well over a mile of track and inching towards that 1.5 mile mark. This ride is huge, covering over 8,000 feet of track. It truly is a masterpiece among coaster engineering, but truth be told, if you count Alpine coasters, Steel Dragon 2000 would only be the 11th longest coaster in the world. That is right, there are a full 10 Alpine coasters longer than Steel Dragon 2000. And to add on to that, there are 3 Alpine coasters longer than 10,000 feet. The longest Alpine coaster, and the official longest roller coaster in the world, is called Tobotronc. Now, this coaster's in Andorra, and I really apologize if I mispronounced that, but oh well. This ride, get ready for this, is 17,388.5 feet long, which roughly translates to 5,300 meters. That's right, this ride is over 2 times the size of Steel Dragon 2000, and you could find it in Andorra. This ride is not talked about a lot, and I'm surprised people don't talk about this being the longest coaster in the world, since most enthusiasts would consider Alpine coasters coasters. But Steel Dragon 2000 is the longest traditional roller coaster in the world, and when I meant traditional earlier, that's what I meant. See, it honestly blows my mind that there is a roller coaster out there more than 3 miles in track, And watching a POV, it seems like it never ends. I'm playing it for you right now, and I could just watch this forever. It just seems like the never-ending Alpine coaster. Anyway, did my selections on this video blow your mind, or did they just make you have a little bit of a shrug? Let me know down in the comments below, and let me know if I should do a part 2. Anyway, this is Cedar Flags, and I will see you all later.